All right, I think this is our last video tonight. Was just basically getting into this one member change of residence Cypress test and realizing that, as we start to add new members or as we start to build up these members with kind of slightly different kind of, well, different households of different compositions, and those include different members, that it may benefit us greatly to, instead of having these really long, wild, uh, kind of everything hard-coded objects, that we would actually generalize some of this stuff and produce factory functions that could generate these members for us. And so I think what we're going to do is, in this video, first of all, I was going to import household member 3, and then in a future spec, household member 4 and member 5. And really what we could do is just generate these functions and say, let's just realize how the members need to change and provide some sort of like configuration or options object. And so let's just do that. And then we can very easily create these as we need them in whatever combination that we need them. So the first thing that we should do is let's go back to good. I know I keep creating this like one member change residence Cypress form, and then I never get to it because there's just so much to do and it's so fun and I'm so tired. But this is awesome and I love to do it. All right, so first things first, let's go into, I actually, in between the two videos, I created a mocks library, M-O-C-K-S, a mocks library within the SLCSP calculator grouping folder. And this is going to be the place, I think, where we just stick all of our mock data. And so let's do household member.mock.ts. Listen, like we've already covered, naming is hard, and this just kind of makes sense to me. I'm going to kind of get rid of this household member.ts because that could be, it could be a few different things, but household member.mock.ts, using that kind of like intermediary kind of descriptor. This is pretty common in Angular, I would say, for like services and pipes and components. Here's the household member mock file. So let's put the household member over here and let us do this. Let's export const equals mock household member, and that is going to, dang it, that is going to take something and return a household member. We don't know exactly what this is going to take just yet, but if we didn't take anything, like if we didn't pass in anything, I think this is what we would return. All right, so let's do this. Let's take this whole thing and return the whole object. We do need to import the household member. And of course, this is going to say like, hey, you've got a return statement immediately after the thing. So let's, I know we're going to put curly braces here. So let's say const household member equals, and then we'll say this whole thing. And then down at the bottom, we will return household member. All right, so what does it not like about that? String is not, what is happening? Restart ESLint server, restart TypeScript server. Something is not correct about that, because we literally, what's happening? What is happening? Types of property relationship. Oh, something is really weird. This one seems to be fine over here. What is going on? Let's see. Let's get rid of the return statement and let's just say return that. And let's get rid of the fix the arrow problem. That's really wild. Like apparently there, it's totally fine. Ooh, I have no idea what's happening. Um, let's see. Types of relationship, type string is not assignable, but self is a relationship, right? Household member, all relationships. Oh, wait a minute. All relationships is a tax relationship or self. That is just like something is not right there. Um, so let's do the next best thing, which is restart VS Code. And y'all get to see my desktop with my games and my shortcuts for just a moment. All right, let's see if this is any better. This is very intriguing. So let's do this. Maybe we need to type this. Okay, there we go. So that's interesting. So we allowed the TypeScript compiler to infer the type and just did not like that. Just said, nope, looks like this is wrong. Okay, so first of all, we have access to a library called Faker from Faker.js Faker. And what can we say here? Faker? Can we do that? Is that what we want? Faker. So if we did like a name, we could do Faker dot name dot first name. Great. So now the first name does not matter, right? Let's look through here and kind of decide what are the things which just do not matter at all. The county, that is kind of a specific combination of numbers and words. And believe it or not, none of these actually matter for the purposes of the form. The only thing that does matter for the purposes of the form is like the name of the county. Everything else is kind of, well, not everything else, but everything else in the county object is kind of irrelevant. But I'm getting ahead of myself just a little bit. Something that does need to change, or that should change, is whether or not this is a primary member. And I think that at some basic level, the primary member is fundamentally different from a secondary member. What do I mean by that? Well, a primary member, a primary member is going to have, first of all, is going to have the primary member as true. Their relationship is going to be self. The residences array is going to have some residences in it, maybe just one, maybe two or three, and I think everything else is the same. So what we could do here, and this maybe isn't always the way this should be approached, but maybe one way to proceed here is to start pulling things out by whether they matter or not. So let's say, we can put this down here, const create coverage, and this is going to, really the coverage just doesn't totally matter, but it's going to return a coverage object, and we're going to return, actually, it's going to be an object within this, and we're going to say this right here. Okay. Cannot find coverage. We're going to update the import. And the coverage, instead of being that, it's just going to be create coverage. Okay. The coverage at this point in our testing doesn't matter. It can be some, all, none, every other month. No part of our testing has gotten to the point where it's like, oh, we actually need January to be true, February to be false, and then the rest of them to be true. We haven't really gotten there yet, but we may get there. But I will suggest to you that a good principle of software design is YAGNI. You ain't gonna need it. We're saying we probably will need it, and that might very well be true. But you know what? Let's not write the code until we're actually at the point where we cannot proceed any further without that code being written. So it is certainly very tempting to abstract this, and it might even be easy, but you know what? We don't need it right now. In terms of the county, const create county, which is going to be a marketplace county, and we are going to return just right now, this, and actually we don't need the county property, do we? Which means we can get rid of this curly brace and this one down here, and then also this comma. I think that's it. Cool. The county also does not matter right now. I will say for sure this very next spec that we're going to be writing, which is the change in residence, it will matter, because at the very least we need something at least that has a different name. But all the zip code and the name and the FIPS, those should be the same. The zip code and the FIPS and the name, those should be different. The state can stay the same. Next up is maybe the months that they've lived there. This will be an interesting one, because you could certainly imagine some kind of combination. Well, first of all, there are many permutations, right? How many different permutations are there? Well, it's kind of like 2 times 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 2. And that is a very large number. I should probably be able to do the math in my head real quick, but it's late, y'all, and I'm not going to do it. Anyway, there are a bunch of different permutations. Which are the ones that are going to matter greatly? Maybe they don't matter at all. Maybe we just want to be able to handle the form in a more explicit way, and so we'll leave these this way for now. But maybe we'll create a separate factory function that kind of depends on these mini factory functions to build up a specific household member. So for now, let's leave this as is. But I do want to say mock primary household member. And let's make sure to export from mock. Got that. Cool. So we've got our household member. Remember, this is the primary household member. So the primary member is true. The relationship is self. The name doesn't matter. The date of birth. The date of birth. Well, I can tell you that the month and the day really don't matter, except to say, maybe we should do something like 15, so it's in the middle of the month. And so the day for sure does not matter. The month, well, if your birthday is in January, and you start your health coverage in January, there may be a chance that something about your birthday triggers something for the February premium. I really don't know how this stuff works. But maybe there's a chance that birth dates matter, and so maybe that could be something that we pass in an options object. But for now, let's leave this as is. Let's pretend that this doesn't matter. The only thing that I know matters right off the bat is the age of the person relative to the current year. And I believe that there's a threshold around age 19. So if it's 2023, and it is January 2023, then if you were born before 2004, you are over 19, right? So if you were born in 2004, January 2004, then you have just turned 19, which is cool. Happy birthday. But if you were born before 2004, then you're over 19 for sure. And so really any date before before 2004 means you're over 19. So that's probably an important threshold to talk about. And maybe we could say, like, is child or year, something like we could say, take the current date, subtract 19 years, and you get some sort of year that if we want this to be a child, it should be born after this year, and we could play it safe by saying like plus 2 years, just so we don't have to deal with any kind of like birthday or whatever. For now, let's leave this alone. And actually, let's just say the year 2000, because then this person would be 23, and that's kind of fun. So 1/15/2000. The residences are going to be this create county. That's fine. They live there the entire year, and the coverage is the same. I think at this point we could use this mock primary household member to come back over. And do I still have Cypress running? No, we're going to need to start that back up. npx nx e2e slcsp calculator e to e watch. All right, and I'm going to try to finish this up in about 10 minutes because I've got to go do something. But right now, Cypress is starting up, and what we're going to do is we're going to go to this one-member household, and there's Cypress. Cool. Start end-to-end testing. We're going to bring over here and go to the one-member household. Just make sure that everything's pumping along. Very cool. Very cool. Over here where it says const household members, well, what we're actually going to do is we're going to replace that with this mock primary household member. And we need to replace that with this. So everything's imported. And let's just double check. Does it all go through? Yes. And what's fun is that you can see every time we run this now, it's a different name, right? Let's see what it is this time. Oh, it's Lafayette. Hey, Lafayette. Nice. What is it? Oh, Erlene. Cool. And because we've generalized all of our form input to make those assertions and make fill in the form with those specific values, it doesn't matter what the name is. And so throughout this process, we start to realize, or we start to gain a better understanding of what does and doesn't matter. What are the critical and kind of unimportant matters or parts of the form. Let's go over to our two-member household. And of course, now we're going to have to do something a little bit different. We're going to have to make a mock primary household member of this, or we're going to have to make a mock secondary household member, right? So let's do this. Export const mock secondary household member. So it's really doing the same thing. And we're going to grab this whole thing. We're going to paste that in. Create county, it should be the same. Oh, except I think Yep, there we go. Cool. So now the primary member needs to be false. And what should the relationship be? Well, there's a couple different ways to do this. I believe Faker provides a way. So if we just come over here with the Faker JS dev, by the way, this is the same Faker or the same kind of um, old Faker library that you might be familiar with, although not in the ecosystem that you're probably thinking about it. This is the Faker JavaScript library that was used maybe about 8 to 12 months ago to kind of mess with the whole JavaScript ecosystem. The maintainer of the library kind of like, I don't know, lost their way a bit and ended up changing the library, injecting or kind of replacing some of the output with some funky stuff. Anyway, it has been reclaimed by some community members, and now it looks like this. So there you go. So what we want to do is we want to, there's a guide, localization, usage. What we want to do is we want to figure out how to pass in some sort of array so that it uses it as random values. Random words, but can we pass in a list? Numeric, alphanumeric, alpha, words. Okay, somewhere in here, let's see, Faker, random word from array. Helpers, array element. Ooh, this might be it right here. Nope, that looks kind of fake. Helpers, the type of entries. Faker.helpers, array element. Array element B. Array element, can't talk about. Yes, this is what we want. So it's array element. Helpers.array element. So let's say Faker dot array helpers dot array element. What's the difference between an element and elements? Returns random element, returns a subset. No, okay, so we want array element. And then it's going to be any relationship, right? What is this? Relationship. All relationships. So it's going to take all relationships, and that is the that's it, I think, right? Let's see. Let's bring back over. Let's go into our 2-member household. It's probably going to fail. Actually, I don't think we even used it, have we? Let's just double check. Random first name. So it's got that. It's got that relationship going on. Create county. I think everything else is the same. There's one thing that we need to talk about the months and how they relate to each other. But let's go back over here and let's put in the mock primary household member and the mock secondary household member. And let's just see what we get. And let's see if it totally breaks down. Oh, it totally did. That's okay. So let's see. Matching what? C? Select C. Okay, that's weird. Array, read only T. Returns a random element. So I'm looking at the API documentation. Returns a random element from the given array. So I guess I have to pass it in an array because I guess, is there maybe some sort of like random pick from? Yeah, I wonder. All right, check it out. So if I click into the thing itself, does it have like a default value? T string array, read only array. So it is optional. But then how would it work? All right, so this is just the TypeScript definition file, which is kind of annoying. It doesn't give everything else, but I bet that it does have some sort of like default value that gets passed in. All right, so it wants us to bring something in. That's okay, because tax relationship, boom, I actually have this as an array, because that's how it works in TypeScript. So I will just bring it in. Okay, and then it should work. Yes. Sweet. Now, right now we have this as random, and I don't, it's like super fast. So, you know, like you probably can't see it. I can kind of see it, but it's like unrelated, spouse, father-in-law. So it's just kind of randomly going through there. And as of right now, you know, we're not totally sure what the relationships need. But let's say, let's start just putting a list up here, like relationships might matter. DOB might matter. So these are things that might matter. Ultimately, you know, what we could do is pass in an object where it's where we've got, you know, we're kind of destructuring it as we're going, but then simultaneously providing default values. I think we can actually do that. Like relationship equals self. I think we can do that. So we could do like relationship equals, you know, this whole thing. And so if we don't pass something in, it's random. But if we do pass something in, it uses that. I don't know. That may be a little complex, and that might be maybe overloading this too much. So, you know what? Maybe it's better to have like a mock primary household member and then a mock random primary household member. I don't know. One of those two is going to work. But for now, you know, this looks good. And we have, you know, to some extent genericized these both. The only thing that we need to make sure of is that these residences are exactly the same. Because we're using this, remember from an earlier video where we create the final form value, this final form value, and then down here, I was going to scroll so far down, but I realized it's just right here because we pulled all that stuff out. We've got this final form value, and this final form value is what we actually use to assert on that final payload. And so I'll just tell you that we need to remember that the residences need to be the same. And so what we probably need to do is const create residence where we return, come on, and let's make sure we import this, where we return kind of the whole thing together. So that it kind of travels together as one thing. And then we probably need some sort of like const, let's see, create household member. Let's do this. So let me pull this out and we'll say create residence. So we'll kind of add that in as a residence and put this up here, add this in as a residence. So that's a little bit easier to read now. And then let's add another file, and let's say household member. Let's say household.mock.ts. This is important because this household needs to kind of agree with itself. All right. So right now we're kind of creating these things in isolation from one another, but in reality, we really need to have that whole household agree with itself. So export const create, or sorry, mock household, and we are going to return a house. Is it just a household? No. Oh my goodness, everything's blurring together. Household, let's see, I guess it's just an array of household members. Yeah, wow. That was household member array, right? So we want to do this. We want to return this thing. And so we'll say const primary member equals mock primary household member, const secondary member. We'll just make sure that these are imported, right? Make sure that this is imported as well. Mock primary household member, where'd you go? There we go. And then we are going to return the primary and the secondary member. Awesome. What if we wanted more than one secondary member? Well, we can get there. We're probably not going to get there in this video, but essentially we would probably do some sort of loop. Take a number, give ourselves the opportunity to pass in a number of total secondary members or just total household members, and then do some looping. But at least we've got this mock household right now, and then we can come back to this, and instead of this whole thing, we'll say mock household, right? So now this is a totally, actually I have to make sure that this is exported from lib mock household. Cool. Then we can go up here and update the import, and now we don't need these other ones up here. So now all we really care is about this mock household, and this mock household, which we're assigning to household members, we're still going to create that form value. So let's just double check. Nothing has changed. That's cool. Everything looks good. And ooh, but you know what? What about this one member household? Is this okay to just mock the primary household member? It probably is. That's probably okay. This is maybe where we'd get into the, maybe just generalize it a little bit more and say pass in a number. And then if you just pass in number 1, it only returns the primary member, versus 2, 3, 4, 5, which it returns a primary member and a bunch of secondary members. But we'll get there. The whole concept of this video is just, oh my goodness, I'm totally deleting this again. Oh well. Is where we just get to the point where we have, just really well generalized methods that read really well. We need to create some household members. Let's do the mock household. You can even now skip this step and just put that in, except we do kind of like to reuse this household members. And if we put this mock household everywhere, if we put it there and other places, these would actually end up being different values, right? Because the first time we call it, it has a name and whatever, and then the second time we call it, it has another name. So it's really best to just initialize it here and then reference it everywhere else in the test. All right. So the thing that I didn't get to, but I will get to in the very next video, is creating this third spec with the change in residence form. And I'll see you in that next video.